Hey everyone, it's Presley at ActOutGames.com here, and today we're going to be talking about my 3rd grade assessment test.
Nice assessment, that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
That was really long. That was hard to say.
Assessment?
Yes.
Or your whole intro?
The whole thing.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So, why are you taking a 3rd grade test?
Because I need to, at 3rd grade, because I don't even know why, but they make us. They do kind of make us. That's right. They make us do it, so we're practicing.
So what is it about you that makes you need to take this test?
Well, sometimes we skip things that I don't need, that I don't really need, that I don't need myself. And they put it in the test, and we have to go over it. Like, I hated it so much. I hate saying this word. It's like,
go ahead.
It's like my nemesis now.
Spit it out.
Estimation.
Estimation. So, because we homeschool, right? Every few years, there's a state assessment that we have to do, so the state can make sure that we're actually.
That's why we do it.
Yeah. So the state wants to make sure that we're actually teaching you stuff, right? And that you're not learning anything. So since we've decided for you to not go to school, they want to make sure that you're still learning. So that's really what these tests are about.
And I'm not like sitting at home and eating potato chips all day.
That's right. And there's a few different ways you can do it. You can go take a standardized test, which is like Scantron and the same kind of test that a 3rd grader would take. You can do these more informal assessments where you can hire someone and they'll just kind of talk to you and ask you some questions and stuff and give you a score. There's a few different things, the way they can do things. And I think we've decided that we're going to go ahead and have you take the standardized test because it's probably good.
Yes.
And the other thing, so exactly what you said, I think is really good, that the standardized test for us is a really good checkpoint because one of the things that's really hard to do in homeschooling is to make sure we cover everything, right? There's a whole lot of little hit or miss things, like it's really easy to focus on one thing or hit some things, and when we think of something we want to study, we study it.
And we just skip things, like we skipped from like normal addition, and then we skipped like everything in between and went straight to algebra.
Yeah, so we're doing algebra and working on that. And because we sort of moved ahead and are doing the algebra and you're learning some of your arithmetic by doing algebra, so sometimes we miss this and we skip over some little things.
Yeah, we skip.
Like estimation.
Yes, estimation. I do not want to say that word.
Right, so it's good. It's good over here. So, so the testing and preparing for the test and getting some of the guidelines and practice tests and things like that show us the things that we missed, which is great. And most of the time, or so far all of the time, when we find something that we hadn't talked about, like rounding and estimation, it's really easy to teach you because you're pretty smart, right?
Right.
So it's pretty easy for you to learn them and pick them up, but it does show us some gaps that we need to do. And so the other thing is just test taking in general. Like you've never really taken tests. So Scantron, like filling in the bubbles.
You don't have to take one until 3rd grade.
Yeah. So tell me, like in doing the practice tests for the math for this state test, 3rd grade test, what did you learn about test taking that you didn't know?
That the Scantron existed.
Yeah, Scantron existed. Okay. What else? What techniques for taking tests?
That you have to like fully do the bubble.
Fully fill the bubble in. Yeah.
You can skip questions that you're gonna get stuck on if it's timed. That is.
It's important. If it's timed, you don't want to just sit there and stare at question number 2.
Yeah.
And then run out of time.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, you skip it, and then what do you do?
And then you do
after you finish.
And after you finish, you go back and do that.
Go back. Yeah, that's right. So you aren't really good at going back yet, but now you're learning to go back. And then what do you do if you finish and there's still time left over?
You can read a book. You can check your answers.
Check your answers. Don't read a book. Go back and check your answers. Right? Play your DS. Right. No, you go back and you check your answers because sometimes you just make silly mistakes.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. So you want to go back and just check and make sure
like
you get it
right. Accidentally wrote like 8 instead of 4.
Sometimes I don't even know what I did, right? I mean, it's been a long time since I've taken these kind of standardized tests, right? But when I was in school...
Sometimes I do think like that, like once when I was playing Minecraft on my server, we were like building something and I got really bored, so I just placed a bunch of blocks on it and I was like, I have no idea what I just did.
That's right. Well, so like when I used to take these standardized tests, I mean, I remember even like in high school, I would be taking these, or in college even probably, I'm sure, I would take a test and I would go through it and I would finish it, and I always finished really fast. Like, I always was a kind of student that I either knew something or I didn't. And if I knew it right away. So, like, sitting and thinking about it and things like that really didn't do me much good. And I just knew it, and then I would fill these things out. And so I would go through the test, and I would answer them all, and so I'd be done pretty early because I do it that way. And then I would go back and check my work. And every once in a while, I would come up to one, and I was like, why did I put that? Why? That's totally wrong, and it doesn't make any sense. Why? I don't even know why I even thought. And I don't know if I, like, shaded the wrong bubble in, or if I thought that was really the right answer or what. But a lot of times I would, yeah. So going back and checking your work is good, because sometimes you go look and you're like, what was I thinking there? Right? So that's good. So there's some interesting things you learn about test taking. It helps us, and like looking at Common Core and reading the Common Core standards kind of tells us what you should be able to do at a certain grade level, or even a few grade levels above you, to make sure that we don't miss many things. And so that's one of the things that's really hard to do, like I said, with homeschooling or with what we're doing, is to make sure we're covering all the stuff that we need to cover and hitting those things. And these tests are really good checkpoints for us. Some homeschoolers hate them, right? Some homeschoolers that are very much like, look, I want to teach my kid, leave me alone, let me do it the way I want to do it. The government doesn't need to be involved in that. They really hate them, but I don't really care. And you shouldn't care, because you're going to do fine. You're really smart. You'll do fine on these tests. You shouldn't worry about it.
I'm just like, man, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah. And so the one of the other, well, just really quickly to touch on one thing that you and I kind of talked about in the car today. So this is called assessment, right? And what is assessment? What do we say assessment was?
Assessment is like where you sit down and do a test.
Well, so that's what most people think of assessment is. But assessment is just checking to see if you know what you're supposed to know. Yeah. In school, at least. I mean, assessment can mean a lot of things, but like in education, it just means checking to see if you know what you're supposed to know, testing you, right? And a lot of times it's like this. You study for a long period of time, or you learn something and you practice, and then at the end of that, there's a test that's an assessment to see if you learned the stuff you were supposed to learn, right? But then there's this thing called a continuous assessment that we kind of talked about a little bit. So Dragon Box, Welder, we were talking about, kind of falling in that category. Like a lot of these games that we play, they're just constantly immediate feedback. Like if you do something wrong in Dragon Box, you know immediately that you did it. So Dragon Box is both teaching you algebra and constantly testing you on what you know and whether you know it. So just playing the game and being part of it, it's both teaching and testing at the same time. And Welder is a great example of something that tests your vocabulary and your pattern matching, right? But you're really just sitting there playing a game. You're not taking some Scantron test. You're just sitting there. And so as your score goes up on Welder, you know that it's assessing your vocabulary and your pattern recognition. And you know you're getting better at that as your score gets better, right? So I like that kind of assessment. I think more and more assessment will move that way. And that's what we're doing at work, is trying to build assessments like that. So I think it's better than this, like, every once in a while take a test kind of thing. And like speaking Japanese, we test your Japanese when we just speak Japanese. So like, any given day when I come home and I say something to you in Japanese, if you respond to me appropriately, then I know that's testing you. It's just assessment constantly. I know it's working. Or we watch anime and you're like, hey, that's not what that person said. You read the subtitles and you're like, that's not at all what she just said. That's crazy. That's a test.
Like, what? She only said I. She didn't say I am this.
That's right. And that assesses your Japanese, right? That lets me know how your Japanese is going, right?
Right.
So I kind of like that. But so that's what happens with your practice test. So we'll keep taking some practice tests. I don't know when you're going to do the assessment. That's kind of up to Mommy, probably. And so whenever you take the assessment, I'm sure we'll come back and we'll do a vlog about how it went and how you did and what you thought about it. But for now, we're just going to keep doing some practice tests. Cool? Cool. All right. Anything else you want to say?
Not really.
Johnny, Toy.
Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Hi. Not hi. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.